Old age is often compared to the autumn of life, gentle, quiet, and unhurried. Many people look forward to this stage as a time of peace, a time for slow mornings with coffee and quiet afternoons watching the sunset with a calm heart. But in reality, growing old is not always so gentle. There are days when silence feels more like emptiness. There are nights when loneliness slips into sleep without a sound. And there are moments when even we cannot tell where our life is headed anymore. Many enter the later years of life with a quiet sense of being left behind. No job to keep busy with, no children to care for, no roles that once gave structure and purpose to each day. In that empty space, some begin to wonder, what am I still here for? This is not a weak question. It is a brave whisper from deep inside searching for a new meaning. The sad truth is that many never get the chance to answer it. Not because they lack wisdom, but because they fall into silent patterns. Habits, beliefs, and old ideas that slowly drain the joy from life. These mistakes do not shout. They quietly wear down our dignity, steal our sense of purpose, and make us feel trapped in a life that no longer feels like our own. But is there a way to change that? Can we turn old age into a gift instead of a burden? Can we live the years ahead with peace, freedom, and true joy rather than just existing? The answer is yes. But first, we must recognize the silent mistakes that are quietly destroying the beauty of our later years. And we must find the courage to begin again. Awareness is the first step to freedom. Only when we see what is draining our spirit can we begin to heal it. It is never too late to live differently. Age cannot stop a soul from coming back to life. This article will walk with you through 9 serious mistakes that many older adults are making, not because they are unwise, but because no one ever told them they had other choices. Each part will gently explore these issues and offer down-to-earth, practical ways to restore your sense of dignity, strength, and joy in daily life. This is not a list meant to judge or criticize. It is a map, a way back to yourself, a way to remember what once made your heart feel alive, and to walk the rest of your path with steady steps and an open heart. Because no matter how old you are, you still deserve a life that feels meaningful. Mistake 1. Believing that passion fades with age. There is a common and quietly dangerous belief that passion is something reserved for the young. As the hair turns gray and our steps slow down, many begin to think that the desire to create, to learn, or to pursue what once made their hearts flutter is no longer suitable. Phrases like "I am too old for that now" become a silent excuse to set aside personal interests and let go of the dreams that once brought color to life. Even more disheartening, this belief often does not come from within alone. It is fed by the silence around us, by the way family stops asking what we enjoy, by society's quiet dismissal, by the unspoken message that curiosity has an expiration date. And when no one asks what lights us up anymore, we begin to forget that we once had a vibrant inner world filled with wonder and excitement. And then something starts to wither. The soul begins to dry up. Each day feels like a repeat of the one before. There is nothing to look forward to. The spark in our eyes fades. The heart feels dull and heavy. We are alive, but not truly living. But passion does not grow old. It does not disappear. It only gets buried. And the beautiful thing is, it can be awakened again at any time, as long as we are willing. Think back to what you once loved. Was it painting, playing music, writing, gardening, photography? Maybe you once dreamed of learning to dance, studying French, or writing your memoir. There is no rule that says you cannot begin again. Start with something small, 15 minutes a day doing something that makes you feel at ease. Give yourself permission to try to stumble, to feel awkward like it is your first time, and do not be ashamed of that. One woman, 74 years old, shared that after her son gave her a piano, she began learning on her own by watching videos online. 6 months later, she was playing her favorite piece and said, "I have not felt this young in years." Passion is food for the soul. When you nurture it, you do more than survive, you shine. When you awaken your passions, you are not just reconnecting with yourself. You are rediscovering the joy of meaningful living, of waking up with a sense of purpose. And that is one of the greatest gifts this stage of life can offer, if you are willing to open your heart to it. Mistake 2. Relying emotionally on your children. A parent's love for their children is a sacred instinct. But as we grow older, that love can quietly turn into a heavy anchor. Not because it is wrong, but because it is placed in the wrong position. Many older parents carry a silent expectation that their children will remain the center of their lives. They hope their children will be their main source of joy, their emotional support, and the ones who always listen and care. But when those children become busy with their own families, their own careers, and do not call as often as they once did, a quiet sense of abandonment begins to creep in. They may not say it aloud, but disappointment builds up inside. Waiting without response slowly turns into a deep, lingering sadness. And so the feeling of loneliness grows. Not because there is no one around, but because all of our happiness and pain have been placed on one single relationship. When our emotional world depends entirely on someone else, even on our own children, hurt becomes almost unavoidable. The truth is, emotions are something we can learn to manage. Instead of placing the whole weight of our heart on our children's shoulders, we can begin to build a life of our own. A world with joys that come from within. A life with friendships, hobbies, and experiences that are not limited by age or family roles. Try joining a local group like a book club, an art class, or a morning walking group. Many people have found surprising joy through simple connections. Take Mr. Harold, age 76. After retiring, he joined the book club at the local library. There, he not only rediscovered his love for literature, but also made new friends, including a spirited lady who loves to argue with him about books every single week. If you are not quite ready to go out, start with something small. Once a week, call an old friend. Ask how they are doing. Share a story from your day. You may be surprised at how much connection that simple act can bring back into your life. When you create a rich emotional world from within, you free yourself from relying too heavily on your children. You also give them the gift of being loved without pressure or expectation. The relationship becomes lighter, more complete, not because it is needed, but because it is chosen. And that is the foundation of a strong, meaningful old age. A time of true connection, not dependence. Mistake 3. Neglecting the body because you think it's too late. One of the most common mistakes people make in later life is believing that it's too late to care for their health. Phrases like, "What's the point now?" or "It's already too late to change" may sound harmless, but they carry a quiet power to destroy. They lead many older adults to stop paying attention to what they eat, to give up on exercise, to accept poor sleep, and to view aches and pains as just part of getting old. But aging does not mean surrender. The human body is far more resilient than we give it credit for, even after decades of wear and tear. Good nutrition, regular movement, and quality sleep, no matter when you begin, can all bring remarkable improvements to your daily life. The question isn't how old you are, it's whether you're willing to begin today. Neglecting the body affects more than just physical health. When we stop feeling strong, we often lose confidence. Simple tasks like stepping outside, attending a social gathering, or caring for ourselves can begin to feel overwhelming. Gradually, dependence creeps in, and with it a quiet disappointment in our own reflection. But even the smallest change has value. You don't need to join a gym or run a marathon. Start with a 10-minute walk around the block. Add a bowl of leafy greens to your dinner. Go to bed 30 minutes earlier and turn off the TV before sleep. These small acts done consistently lead to bigger changes over time. Mrs. Linda, now 80, is living proof. After a dizzy spell landed her in the hospital, she decided to make a change. She began each day with a few gentle yoga stretches and cut down on salt in her meals. Within 3 months, she felt more energized, slept better, and most importantly, found herself enjoying life again. Here's a piece of advice for you. Don't wait until your body starts shouting for help. Treat it like a dear old friend, one that, despite the years, is still waiting patiently to be cared for. Choose one thing you can do today and do it with respect for yourself, because health is not just the foundation for living longer. It's the key to living well, living actively, and living with dignity all the way through your final years. Mistake 4. Saving money but starving your life. Money is the result of a lifetime of hard work, so it is only natural to want to protect it. But many people enter their later years with a constant worry. If I spend now, what if something happens later? That fear can become so strong that they stop spending on the things they enjoy. Even something as simple as a nice meal or a short weekend trip. They live on the tightest budget possible. They turn down social invitations, skip small treats for themselves, and say no to anything that feels unnecessary, all in the name of watching their bank account grow. But here is the truth when joy is missing from daily life. No number on a screen can fill that emptiness inside. Saving is a survival instinct, but living is an art one that needs to be nourished with experience. Money is not only for protecting against the unknown. It is also a tool for investing in happiness, especially in the present, when you focus too much on what may happen tomorrow and forget to live today. You begin to lose the most precious years you have left. Of course, no one is saying you should spend carelessly, but allow yourself to live a little more fully, starting with small things. Take Mr. Ray, age 72. For years, he held back from buying the cafe-style coffee he loved. After a conversation with an old friend, he realized he had been far too frugal with himself. Since then, he sets aside a small amount each week to do something he enjoys. Sometimes it is going to the movies. Other times it is buying a new book or taking his wife out to dinner. Life feels more worth living, now he laughs and I still have money left. The solution is not to spend more, but to spend with care and attention. Try setting up a monthly joy fund, just a small amount that gives you permission to enjoy life. Not out of luxury, but because you deserve it. When you learn to use money to enrich your life, you begin to feel a different kind of wealth. It is not found in numbers, but in feelings, in memories, and in moments of connection. And that is the true value money is meant to bring. Mistake 5, believing it's too late to start again. One of the heaviest mental chains in later life is the belief that everything is over. I used to want to do that, but it's too late now. If I were 10 years younger, maybe I would have dared. These are not just quiet sighs. They are signs of a mind that has quietly shut the door to new possibilities. But the truth is, there is no set age for starting over. No one has ever said that dreams expire when you retire. No one has told you that you cannot learn something new, move to a new place, fall in love again, or change the way you live except yourself. When we stop believing that we can change, we begin to simply exist instead of truly live. We hold on to old routines that no longer fit, just because we fear the unfamiliar feeling of starting anew. But what we often forget is this: choosing to stay still is still a choice, and it is often the one that slowly pulls us away from who we really are. Starting again does not need to be something grand. Sometimes a new hobby, a new environment, or even a change in your daily routine can open up a whole new world. Try writing down a small goal, like learning to use a smartphone, planting a new type of flower, or joining a painting class. Then take one simple step each week to move closer to that goal. Take Mrs. Evelyn, age 78. She once believed her days would revolve around an armchair and the television, but one day she signed up to volunteer at the local library, just to pass the time. To her surprise, she found something much more. She felt needed, connected, and even heard. "I never thought I could still wake up excited about something new," she said. Age may slow our steps, but it should never stop our ability to begin again. Not if your heart is still open. Life does not need to be dramatic, but it must keep moving, and sometimes the smallest change today is enough to remind you that you are still alive, and there is still so much left to discover. Mistake 6, living on autopilot and withdrawing from life. There is a way of living that becomes common in old age. It is not loud, it is not painful, but it quietly wears down the spirit day by day. It is living like a machine. You wake up at the same time, you eat the same meals, you do the same tasks. Then you sit in silence until bedtime. There is no excitement. Nothing feels new. Everything is fine, but nothing really stirs the heart. Many people call this peace, but in truth it is a quiet retreat from life. They no longer try new things. They stop seeking out what is different, not because they are unable to, but because they have grown used to the comfort of the familiar. And when the spirit is no longer nourished by new experiences, a person begins to feel empty. Not sad, not happy, just nothing at all. Living this way for a week is no problem. But if it continues for months or even years, you begin to lose something very precious, your curiosity. And curiosity is the lifeblood of the soul. The good news is you do not have to do anything big to break free from the dull routine. Just make a small change. Take a different route on your morning walk. Try a recipe you have never made. Sign up for a free online class. Even something as simple as starting a conversation with someone. You rarely speak to can bring a new spark. Mr. Peter, age 75, became very quiet after retiring. Every day looked exactly the same. He could not even tell what day of the week it was anymore. Then one day he saw a flyer for a senior dance class and decided to give it a try just to pass the time. But in that class he felt a thrill he had not felt in years. Now he goes every week with a smile and his dancing shoes. Remember, you do not need to do something big to feel alive again. Just do one thing differently each day. It does not have to be perfect. It just needs to be honest and true to who you are. Because sometimes just a small movement is enough to wake up a soul that has quietly fallen asleep. Mistake 7. Holding on to toxic relationships. In our later years, the longing for connection often grows stronger. Everyone hopes to have someone by their side, to talk with, to share the little things, and to feel less alone in a world that keeps changing, but sometimes out of fear of being lonely. We hold on to relationships that no longer serve us, not because they bring joy, but because we are afraid of being without them. It could be an old friend who only brings negativity, always complaining and spreading worry. It might be a relative who shows up only when they need something but never truly listens. Or a neighbor who constantly makes rude remarks, yet you still force a smile because you do not want to seem unfriendly. These interactions don't lift you up. They leave you drained and uneasy. Over time, these kinds of relationships do more than just wear you out. They make you doubt yourself. You start to shrink inside. You hold back your real feelings, and you begin to accept being hurt as something normal, all just to keep your place in a shrinking social circle. But the truth is, you do not have to keep what causes you harm. No matter who it is or how long you've known them, you have the right to let go. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is a form of self-respect. When you say no to conversations that leave you exhausted, you create space for better connections to come. Start small. Take a look at the people you interact with regularly. How do you feel after seeing them? Do you feel lighter or heavier, lifted or drained? That feeling is your compass. Mrs. Rose, age 82, used to play cards with the same group of friends every week, but each time she came home she felt tired and unhappy. One day she stopped going. Instead, she signed up for a calligraphy class. There she met new people, calm, thoughtful, and truly present. I no longer feel like I have to pretend or please anyone, she said. Getting older does not mean you must keep enduring what hurts you. You have the right to choose people who make your life brighter, not heavier. And sometimes peace comes not from having more people around, but from being with the right ones. Mistake 8. Neglecting your spiritual life. In the busyness of daily life, many people enter old age with a dry and weary soul. It is not because they lack material comfort, but because they have lost their connection to the deepest part of themselves. When life no longer revolves around big goals, work routines, or raising children, some begin to feel adrift. And in the drifting, they forget one simple truth. The soul needs care just like the body does, perhaps even more. Spirituality does not have to be tied to religion. It can be a quiet sense of connection to something greater than yourself. Nature, the universe, gratitude, or the stillness within your own mind. When we abandon our spiritual well-being, it becomes easy to lose direction. We stop believing. We stop hoping. And slowly life begins to feel shallow and gray. This emptiness does not scream. It seeps quietly into our days. We still go to the market, we still eat, we still speak to others, but something always feels missing. Without a strong inner life, it becomes harder to forgive, harder to let go, and harder to accept the natural changes of aging. The good news is the door to your spiritual life never truly closes. It only takes a few quiet moments each day to begin again. You might return to your inner world through meditation, prayer journaling, or simply walking through a park and letting your heart rest in the bird song and the breeze. You do not need rituals or complex beliefs. What matters most is your full presence in the moment. Mr. Michael, age 79, once shared that he began journaling every night, writing down 3 small things he was grateful for. At first he did it out of habit, but over time he noticed that his mind grew lighter and his heart more gentle. I stopped being angry at life for what I had lost, he said, and started feeling thankful for what I still had. No matter how old you are, you can still find peace within. It is a peace no one can take away. It does not depend on your circumstances. When the soul is nurtured, you not only live with more depth, You move through the changes of life with greater ease and grace. Mistake 9, believing there is nothing left to discover. One of the most limiting beliefs that can make old age feel dry and lifeless is this: all the interesting things are behind me. After living through many decades and weathering life's ups and downs, it is easy to think that you have seen it all, felt it all, and that nothing could surprise you anymore. But the truth is, the world is still turning. And inside every person, whether 70 or 90, there are parts that have yet to be explored. There may be sides of your personality that were never expressed, hidden talents waiting to be discovered, or simply new feelings rising from familiar moments. When we begin to believe that there is nothing more to learn, try, or feel, we start to close off. That quiet shutting down makes every day feel the same as the last. Life begins to lose its freshness. The mind stiffens, and we forget the joy of simply being curious. Discovery does not mean you have to travel the world or learn something difficult. Sometimes it is as simple as reading a book in a genre you never considered before, trying a new recipe, having a conversation with someone you just met, listening to a different kind of music. These small things can light a spark inside you, as if for the very first time. Mrs. Judith, at 81, once believed she had no special talents. One day she was given a box of watercolor paints as a gift. At first she only played with the colors, but after a few weeks she fell in love with painting. Now every afternoon she sits by the window and paints flowers from her garden. Her first painting now hangs in the common room of her retirement home as a quiet inspiration to others. Believe this, there are still many things you have not yet seen, not yet learned, and not yet done. And you can begin at any moment. Each week choose one new thing, just a small one, and try it. Not to master it, but simply to experience it. Because when the mind stays curious, the heart stays young. And when you can still feel a quiet thrill about something you have not yet known. You are not just growing old, you are fully alive. Closing message. Old age, if not lived with awareness, can quietly slip into a pattern of routine regret and loneliness. The 9 mistakes we have just reflected on are not judgments. They are doorways, and each one, if you have the courage to open it, can lead to a life that is richer in feeling, fuller in experience, and gentler in spirit. You do not need to change everything in a day. Just start with one thing, even something small. A walk you have been putting off, a book you always meant to read, a phone call to an old friend you still think about, or simply a quiet moment to sit still, take a deep breath, and gently ask yourself, how am I living right now? And how do I want to live from this day forward? Because there is still so much waiting for you to discover, to love, and to live. And you truly deserve a life in old age that has depth, freedom, and genuine joy. If something in this message speaks to your heart, please click like, share, and subscribe to the Light of Wise Elders channel. Every time you interact, you help this message reach farther, toward the hearts that need it most. Thank you for staying with us until the very last words. Wishing you a peaceful day and a later life that feels truly worth living.